have a have the honor of having back RI President Representative Jennifer Scott, PDG Jennifer Scott. She's going to come back and do a wrap up for us of what President Holgert has had to say, and see the beautiful ocean in the background here. Jennifer, we just want to welcome you back again this morning. So she needs no introduction, so let's give her a great big 7690 welcome.
Thank you very much, and good morning to everyone. That beautiful beach in the background is called Barara Beach, and in between speaking with you what was your last night and today, we've driven down to our beach house, and so to have just a couple of days of rest and relaxation before getting back into a busy week. So that's what it looks like. I really enjoyed listening to your interfaith service because it reminded me of what Rotary International is really asking us to work on as clubs, but also as individuals. And that's what we call DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I can see that your district, because over the last couple of days, you have shown diversity in what you do, in the faiths that you support. And with equity, well, of course, that's a complex one where it's more than being equal. It's giving a hand up to those to provide opportunity to create equality, because sometimes life isn't always equal. So you need to give a hand up to others in the community. The hard one, and I want you to think about this, is inclusion. Now, why I say that's hard is sometimes we take it for granted in our clubs that we include everyone. But do we? So I'm going to give you a bit of homework with the Rotary Update. I want you to go back to your clubs and each of you think about, are we being inclusive? Do we look inclusive? Are we being exclusive? I know that when I first joined Rotary, and I was the first female in our club, and there was a table that was only for a certain group of fellows, and we called it the Margaret River table because they all bought bottles of red wine, all sat there, and if you went to sit on that table, it was, that's our table. And I felt very excluded. And it wasn't because I was a woman, it was anyone except for that group. So when I became president, I started moving around people to make everyone feel included, because, you know, when you're excluded from an activity, from a table, you stop feeling welcome. And what happens is then you go to Rotary less, and finally one day you think, well, why am I going at all? So my homework, as I said for you, your homework is to look at how inclusive you are. Because if you're not inclusive to your own members, what about the new ones that come in that want to visit? So that's step one. Now, I think I'll share my screen if that's okay, and I will go through some of the other Rotary updates to think about over the coming year and also over the coming months. So the first one is, of course, the convention. Okay, we're not going to Taiwan, and I was booked in to go to Taiwan and looking forward to it. But there's a reality that safety is more important. And I know that President Holgert is so disappointed, and so are the Taiwanese. However, 12 to 16 June, put that in your diary. Get involved. They are fabulous speakers, and there'll be great breakout sessions. So do get involved, do register, and participate as much as you can. Now, the good news is, as you know, we missed out on Hawaii and we missed out on Taiwan. Well, those two countries will have the opportunity in a few years still to host a convention. And I thought, well, that was very thoughtful of the board to say, well, you've prepared, you're ready, you won't miss out. So put that in your diary, 12 to 16 June coming up. The next is I want to talk a little bit more about Rotaractors. The council on legislation last year, not last year, of course, that was a COVID year, 2019, changed the world a lot for Rotary. Rather than Rotaractors being a project, they became members of Rotary International. Now, there's a lot of complexity in that there's a Rotaract committee, international committee, there's the board and others working through how does everything work. There will be coming up in 2021 Rotaract fees. So that has a difference. There's also that wonderful opportunity for Rotaractors to apply for grants, district grants through your district, and also for global grants. So they're going to need support and mentoring to be able to work through how to apply for a global grant, all the requirements in doing an assessment, community needs assessment, and then, of course, to work through the governance and support of carrying out, undertaking a successful, sustainable global grant. So the next bit of homework, why not partner with them? Find a Rotaract club, give them the opportunity, the wonderful opportunity to participate in a major project and to apply for a global grant. Now, people are saying, well, if Rotaractors can do all these things, why aren't they just Rotarians? And I suppose the reality is, what is the difference between a Rotaractor and a Rotarian now? Well, it's age. They probably don't have silver hair. It's also dynamics. Even though we share the same values, they see the world differently. And it's an opportunity for them still to get together, to have a different type of fun, but still to learn and be a part of Rotary. And they can work with us as well as Rotarians. And we've got a lot to learn from them. And of course, there's that opportunity that Rotaractors can also be Rotarians. And I want you to consider who Rotaractors are. In Australia, we have Rotaractors at university, so they're university students, some just starting work, and others that are CEOs of companies before the age 30. So I always encourage our Rotarians not to put them into the category of youth. These are young adults with a lot to offer, and some of them are high flyers in their careers. They're not kids. So consider them your partners. Of course, next is this wonderful opportunity we have from 1 July 2021, our 7th area of focus, the environment. Over the past 5 years, the Rotary Foundation has already funded $18 million of environmental projects. Now, this is so important. It's my passion, of course, the environment. I've been an environmental lawyer for 40 years. I want you to think about, when we talk about the environment, how important it is. So there's 3 key things to life: air, water, and food. Without air, we die in 4 minutes. We want to keep that air clean. Without water, well, we die within 4 days. Without food, we die within 4 weeks. So as Rotarians, we've got ample opportunity to look at our communities, what's impacting on our air quality, to look at our waterways and our oceans, how vital that is, be it cleaning up the waterways, So next, well, okay, I'm a lawyer, So I like legislation. But it's also important to every Rotarian. So this is another lot of homework for your clubs. Next year, roughly in April, we've got the Council on Legislation. And for all my Rotary years, I've heard people say, why don't Rotary do this? This is the club members. Why hasn't Rotary done that? Well, I have news for you. You are Rotary. You make the rules. The board doesn't. The board's got the code of policy. But the rules, the constitution and the bylaws are decided by Rotarians at the Council on Legislation. How we form Rotary, how we live Rotary, all those aspects are voted on by your representatives. So get interested. Look at the legislation when it comes out soon. Talk about it in your club. Look at what's relevant to you. And then there's a Council on Resolutions that are dealt with at the 30th of June each year. Again, if there's something important to your club that you think needs to be added, taken away, or amended, talk about it, because this is your Rotary and the future is how you shape it. So get involved with Council on Legislation and Council on Resolutions with your representative. Get them along to your club to talk to you about how to do things, what you want changed, and be a part of the change in Rotary. Now, I'm speaking to you remotely, but many of you are together. And one thing I've learned this year, more than any other over the last year, is yes, doing things is important in Rotary, service. But I've learned the importance of fellowship, the company, being together and making a difference together. And that I want you to think about that. Yes, it's great that we can be innovative and do things differently, but don't forget fellowship, such a key part of how we do things. And when I talk about innovation and flexibility, another bit of homework, you've changed. What else can you change over the coming year? And that is key. So let me give you some hints. I tried to have a look at all 40 websites, but I couldn't get into some of them because some of them were quite basic. So I did get a good look at 30. Some were fabulous, others were okay, and others were, well, it's more like a message board for their members rather than when it's a website, you're dealing with the public. So think about 3 things with your website, with your Facebook, with any messages or things you put in your local newspaper. There's a difference between public relations, public image, and publicity. So public image is what you want to portray to the outside world. Public relations is how the inside world, the outside world sees you. And publicity goes both ways. It could be good or bad. You can't always control it. So your Facebook, unless it's a private internal one, and your website is how you want to portray yourself to the world. And that's really important. And finally, I want to talk about our vision, because this is what District Governor Tommy has really brought together with this conference. And I'll just go through it with you. I know you know it, but it starts with together, not separately. Together, we see a world. So it's not just our neighborhood, but a whole world. So it's together, where people unite to take action. Take action, not just have a chat, not just have dinner together or lunch together, but we unite to take action to create lasting change. So when you do those projects, keep on thinking, how sustainable are they? We don't want to go in and do something, fix it, and find that next year we've got to come back. Lasting, sustainable change. Across the globe, we partner with other clubs and other districts in our own community and in ourselves. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about ourselves because the past year has been quite tough. I know that in our country, we've been looking at the mental health of people in our community, the impact of isolation, the impact of loss due to COVID, people dying before their time, long-term effects of COVID. And in Australia, we had the drought, the fire, the floods, the fires again, the floods. It's been quite devastating. So the other homework I'd like you to think about is, what can you do to promote wellness in your members and in your community? Our club has started mental health first aid classes, just like physical first aid, mental health first aid. We're training people to become mental health first aiders so they can see if there's people are depressed. We don't analyze, we just carry out first aid until they can get professional help. So research that. Look at the mental health of your members and your community, not only the adults, also the children and our youth, how they've been impacted by COVID and will continue to be for quite some time to come. So, Tommy, you have put on a conference that have brought people together. You've given us the opportunity to get together, even if I'm at a distance. You've given your district the opportunity to come together. And despite COVID, what I've seen your clubs do have still been supporting the community, recognizing those in need and doing something about it. So of course, the next step, and I'll stop sharing the video, the next step is to serve to change lives. Don't rush into that next step. District Governor Tommy has still got a few months to work with you, and your club still have jobs to do to celebrate the success of your year, but also to finish those things you've promised to do within your community. So in looking at next year, still be prepared. Be prepared to serve. And the key focuses for next year, of course, will be each one bring one, but not just that. We want you to keep them. So it's not a numbers game. You want them to feel engaged and included, and for them to add value to Rotary and to their lives. And of course, the importance of the girl child. And that will be a focus in the coming year, is to support somehow girls in either education, health, or welfare, or looking at where we have, of course, child protection and protection of women in very risky circumstances, female slavery. There's so many areas where we need to work with young girls. So firstly, I wish you well. And most importantly, can I congratulate you, Tommy, and your team for what was mentioned earlier in the interfaith service, for making the effort, for being brave and saying we are going to have an in-person conference, and everybody holding their breath, and you've been able to. I've really been so thankful to be able to share this time with you, despite us being thousands of kilometres and 14 hours apart, that we can still connect as Rotarians. So thank you, and thank you, Tommy.
Thank you, Jennifer, so much. Thank you for taking your time to be with us. And it will be great to see you and Ian in Houston, we hope, in next year's convention. So thank you so much for being with us, and such encouraging words. Thank you so much. Let's give her another hand. Thank you, Jennifer. Good night.